All right, we're on. We're recording.
Hello.
Hello, what's up, dude?
Not much. Oh, I need some.
So I was on my ship for a pretty long trip out, and I was in the mood to play some D&D, but none of my guys wanted to play it with me. They tried one time with us, and the DM we got sucked. Like, no offense to him or anything, but like,
Yeah.
I could just tell he's getting real tired of always being the DM, so his heart just really wasn't in it.
Ugh,
And yeah, this shit happens. Uh, but yeah, his heart really
a
wasn't in
fucking
it.
spam call.
Yeah, his heart really wasn't in the game, and uh, yeah, and so he gave my buddies on the ship a pretty bad first experience of Dungeons and Dragons, and they've been pretty reluctant to play. And I couldn't find any other DM, so I started looking for an electronic alternative. I played Neverwinter Nights because, like, that is D&D, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah. That's actually the same exact reason I got Neverwinter Nights. I'm pretty sure I got it after I visited you
played
when
it
I went for your
tabletop.
wedding.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure I played it and I was like, I need more. And so
yeah.
I was like
But
trying to, and I did the same thing.
you're like, I
Got
want an
Neverwinter.
electronic version. And
Yeah.
Neverwinter Nights is great, but one of the things it suffers from that like it doesn't complete the D&D element, because the whole thing about D&D is the party and the friends.
Yeah.
And Neverwinter Nights has the multiplayer capability, but once again, it's like you got to get a group together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same problem that I was having on the ship. It's like I couldn't get a group to play with me. And I played Neverwinter Nights, and it kind of scratched that itch, but it was still like I'm still not playing with a group. And then I'd seen it on tons of forums. Like I'd Googled it looking for D&D type RPG games, and everywhere I looked, it kept saying Divinity Original Sin 2. You told me Divinity Original Sin 2, and so I tried that, and it's definitely better. Like because you have a party, and it does a pretty good job of capturing the feel of like the computer runs the other NPC characters of your party in a pretty good way, where you have like personal your character that you make, he'll have like personal interactions with them and whatnot, and
Yeah.
it
The
feels,
dialogue's good.
yeah, and there's a narrator that narrates shit. It's like you walk into a room and you see this, and yeah,
Hmm.
that's cool. Yeah, so
The
uh
DM. It's the
yeah,
DM,
he's the
Andy.
DM, yeah. uh so yeah, that's been I've gotten pretty far. Well, I don't know. I don't think I've gotten pretty far. It seems like a huge game. Like you've
It's
beaten it before,
humongous.
right?
No, I never fully beat it. I never
Oh,
finished it. I get
okay.
really far on all my characters, but I never beat it. That's how long it is.
So,
I played like, well, this is probably an exaggeration. It was probably 20 hours. It felt like 40 hours
mhm.
on my very first character, and I didn't get to the end. And I
and
was doing a lot of side shit, so
and
that's probably why.
just to be clear for any, all 40 people that watch us, uh, you've played the PC and the Switch version, correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I've
yeah.
only played the Nintendo Switch version of Divinity. It's Original Sin 2 that we're talking about. I've never played Original Sin, and I didn't know this until I started looking more into it. Do you know this is a franchise that has been out for a long time?
I did not.
Yeah, Divinity's been
No, I
around for a
know.
while. There's like the Original Sin 2 is like, I think it's somewhere like the sixth, seventh, or eighth Divinity game in
Wow.
that franchise. It's just the Original Sin and Original Sin 2 are the first ones to really take off. Uh,
Right.
there was one, I think Divinity 3. It was a very Skyrim-y type game, very more like but it came out. It suffered from the same things. Remember that Kingdoms of Amalur game?
Yeah.
Suffered from the same problem as any Dragon's Dogma. Suffered from the same problem as any of these games
Hate
that came.
Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah, I'm not a
Hate it.
huge fan either. But
If you guys ever want to hear me rant or rage about a topic, specific topic, Dragon's Dogma, I could go on a 2 hour rant
yeah,
nonstop about why I hate it, and you guys would go, "All right, some of those points were valid, and some were really stupid," and you'd
but
be right.
still,
But I could do it.
I
I
made a
hate
whole
that game.
video about the number one reason I don't collect Star Wars action figures is because they can't
Mm,
capture a lightsaber in the form of a toy. They just can't do
no,
it. It looks like
no.
he's holding a Jolly Rancher stick. You know what I mean?
You'd have
So
to make your own. Yeah, they do look like Jolly Ranchers. That's
yeah,
why I never thought about that, and I'll never not see green apple Jolly Ranchers when I see
yeah,
Yoda's lightsaber.
yeah. In a toy, in an action figure, yeah. Uh, so yeah, I mean everyone's got their dumb little reasons for not liking stuff, but then there's more
Yeah.
valid ones. But Dragon's Dogma, Kingdoms of Amalur, and that Divinity game, they all suffered because they came out around more or less the same time as Skyrim, and Skyrim just wiped the fucking board with everything. So, uh, Divinity never really took off until they went back to the drawing board. I'm not sure if they've always been made by Larian. but
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. It's something we could look up real quick. I mean, shit.
Yeah, I could. I have a computer right here.
Well, I use this recording software to where like it just records whatever's on my screen. Let's see here.
On their homepage, let's see.
Divinity series.
So it says they've made
Larian.
Baldur's Gate 3, Divine Divinity, Beyond Divinity, Divinity 2 Developer's Cut, Dragon Commander, Divinity Original Sin Enhanced
Yes.
Edition,
They've pretty much made them
D2.
all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Like I'm looking here on this page and it says under developers it just lists Larian. It doesn't for the whole franchise. It doesn't list any other developers. So
it's just their game. It's their game franchise.
And I guess it's with Original Sin and Original Sin 2, they just kind of decided let's go back to the drawing. Clearly what we're trying is not working. Let's go back to the drawing board and try something different. And they said let's try to do an electronic D&D. And that's where it's really taken off. And they did it so fucking well that now for Baldur's Gate 3, Wizards of the Coast just straight up said Larian, like we're having Larian.
Yeah, you guys
for sure.
They really did. Yeah. Like if I were to pick a company to make Baldur's Gate 3, it would have been no contest Larian Studios because of Divinity 2. It was so good and it was already basically Baldur's Gate that it would have been insane not to pick them.
I remember being like in stores and stuff and seeing like the posters and seeing the game case for Divinity Original Sin and Original Sin 2. But and this is what we just got done talking about, little stupid shit that make people don't like things. I would always look at it and I would forget. Like I looked at it many times and I'd always forget what the reason was why I didn't want to play it. But as soon as I like took the game case off the shelf and like started reading the back of it and it said tactical turn-based combat, to me I hear that and I think old school Final Fantasy, your team is assembled in a line on one side, their team's assembled in a line on the other side, and you just go take turns going back and forth, whacking each other or casting a spell, and you just do that until you eliminate the whole other line of people. And that's just super boring to me and repetitive, and it gets old. Nothing like that though. Like I'm
totally three-dimensional.
Three-dimensional, and it's like I'm the reason I'm cool with it and I'm on board with it is one, playing tabletop D&D is turn-based with dice rolls and whatnot. And so that kind of opened me up to the idea of, okay, I mean, like, I like it playing tabletop. And I mean, like, am I going to really like it less when it's in a video game and I'm not just rolling a dice to cast a spell, I'm actually hurtling fire and I can see it and it looks cool? Like, probably not.
And it lights things on fire.
Yeah. But I still kept coming back to the whole like team going across, but it's not that. It's, I mean, we're not speaking on anything new here. You know, maybe some people will watch this who've never heard of Divinity, but it's been around. Even just Original Sin 2 has been out for like 3 years now.
Yeah, I can't believe I jumped on the bandwagon so late. Yeah. My reason for waiting was our buddies Pat and Joe played it, and I remember watching them play it and thinking, wow, this is a really cool game that I really don't want to play. I want to watch people play it because it just was so complicated. Like they got in a conversation with a person for like 20 minutes because they were playing it on a hard difficulty. So they didn't want to fight him because they were just like, he could kill us for sure. And he was fucking trying to kill them. So they were like maneuvering their way through a conversation.
Yeah.
And they were reloading points so they didn't have to fight him. They're like, okay, we can't pick that option. We got to do this. Like it was like legit D&D. They're like, we do not want to fucking fight this guy.
Because there, believe it or not, there are people out there who play D&D, tabletop D&D, and they do an entirely combat-free build for they pump charisma and to where they just like they'll play like a little halfling rogue type character or a bard, and they just they're like, I'm an adventurer, but I'm more of like the Bilbo Baggins burglar where I just kind of bumble my way through the adventure and come out with like a chest full of gold. Like that's a strategy. I mean, like you pump charisma and wisdom and they do a completely combat free build where they can just like with charisma, and I mean they do some spell casting, but it's not really combat, like charm person to kind of like influence them into giving them what they want. But they don't do combat at all. And I don't know, do you think you could truly pull that off completely in Divinity?
No,
you're gonna fight it eventually.
You have to fight some things.
You
have to. Well, without spoiling anything, and I don't know entirely how it ends. I have a theory, but it would be a spoiler. in my theory, you're definitely gonna have to fight somebody at that point. Like, and then there's one fight right in the end of the first place. You have to fight. You have to fight all the people in that room.
The beginning
tutorial. Although you could do non-combat, you could bring the death cloud barrels from the ship in the beginning and then just drop them and kill everyone. Like, you can straight up do that. So yeah, you could do no combat.
That's the thing I didn't realize about this game is it is. You got an isometric view, you're a bird's eye view looking down. You can zoom in and zoom out and get a closer look at the battlefield and whatnot if you want to. But it's crazy to me how much it actually reminds me of, in terms of just like limitless customization and possibilities. It gives me it's Skyrim level customization, and I think it does that a little bit differently. Maybe not 5th edition D&D. 5th edition D&D is a little more play it your way than old school edition. Like Neverwinter Nights goes off of 3.5, which is 100% like we've talked about this. Like, oh, you want to be a mage? Okay, so you can never wear heavy armor. Why? Because it's going to be so heavy you can't cast your spells. What do you mean? Like, never in my life have I put on a piece of clothing that's so heavy it prevented me from speaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I put on this shirt, it's so heavy, I'm just like, I really love that. Like,
yeah, that's never happened to anyone
ever.
If it happened to that person, what was actually happening was they were having a stroke. Like, it had nothing to do with the weight of the armor. Like, yeah, dude, you know what else does that? And I think also this must be, now that you're saying this, it must be a little bit based on 3Es, what you said it was called? 3.5.
Neverwinter Nights is 3.5.
3.5. So KOTOR and KOTOR 2, I guarantee, have a little bit of that, because if you play a sorcerer, like if you play a full force user, if you wear heavy armor, you can't use force spells. And I was like, what? Like, okay, let's get this. Let me put it like this. Lightning sort of makes sense a little bit, not really, but a little bit. But force choke, Darth Vader doesn't have hands. If we're gonna get really specific here, he actually doesn't have hands.
It's already
like, he's just
armor.
A torso.
Yeah.
So how is he able to go like that? And I can't, but I actually
because
have
you're wearing a heavy glove. Yeah.
Yeah, my glove's heavy, so I can't. But this blaster pistol, I can just pick up and aim with dead eye precision. What the fuck is that about? That's stupid.
I mean, we know what it is. It's balancing the classes for gameplay.
It would be OP as fuck for me to wear heavy armor and shoot lightning out of my
but some people, especially me, like when I'm looking for a game, like especially an RPG, like that's what I want. Like by the end of the game, I want to be a fucking god. And just
we need more games that embrace the fact that we want to be badass as fuck. We don't want it to be balanced. You know what needs to be balanced? Online MMOs. But everything else, stop fucking balancing it. I hate that shit.
Yeah,
if there's a gun in there that's really good, let me use that and let it be good.
Yeah.
Don't like have me log on one day and you've like, oh, we nerfed it. I'm like, no, what you did is you canceled this game for me. Because that was the reason I played it. You took it away.
And what was I just about to say? Or go a Diablo approach where you have like, it would be a little bit difficult to do in a game like Divinity because it's not just combat that has a difficulty level. Like everything has a difficulty level. Your ability to persuade people and talk to people has a difficulty level. But like, look at Diablo. Diablo has like 18 different levels of difficulty. So if you
something like that,
you can up yourself into this godlike being, and if you find the game's getting a little too easy, go to the next torment level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like raise it a bit. So
unless you play Necromancer and do that Bone Spear build, and then you just put it on 18, and then you win. That's it. Nothing can touch you.
Yeah.
When you kill one thing, you've killed everything, because that Bone Spear will do 27 billion damage when it touches the next. It's so fucking broken. Necromancer, never nerf that. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. You're already making a fourth
you're talking
game.
About,
just
you're
leave
talking
it
about
alone.
3 or in 2?
3.
3.
In 3, if you play it's Bone. I don't even know what it's called. Pat knows the name. I have the build and I don't even know the name. It's like Bone Spear or something.
Yeah.
Bone Harpoon. And you have to have a corpse. But if you have one corpse, you win the whole dungeon. Like, there's virtually no way for you to not win. And you have an ability where when you teleport, you leave a corpse behind.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's the build. You teleport, leave corpse, kill everything, and then rinse, repeat.
And on all that note, well, first of all, side note, you mentioned how it has a taste of like KOTOR. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, BioWare made Neverwinter Nights originally.
Yeah.
And the engine they built for the game based on 3.5 D&D, like that's the same thing they used to make KOTOR, so that's why it feels the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's got the same pause mechanics, the same queue up abilities. The queue in the is weird.
It's auto
not as
attack but
obvious.
turn based at the same time. Like
You can queue up attacks.
Yeah,
Did you know that?
that's the
Yeah.
turn based. That's the
Yeah.
it automatically, it's auto attack in the sense that it's gonna automatically, like Divinity, you have some say as to when your turn is
Yeah.
over.
It'll stop and then you sort of
Neverwinter Nights, it's just gonna keep, you enter combat with someone, it's just gonna keep cycling through the turns of all the combatants, and you have to queue up ability. Okay, I want to use that next time it comes around to my turn. I want to use that the next time it comes around to my turn after that. Divinity's more like turn by turn.
Yeah.
Which is more D&D, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the DM is, you're not sitting around a table playing D&D and the DM's just like, all right, your turn's up. Oh, now it's their turn.
Yeah.
Like trying to keep. Okay,
what are you doing? Too soon.
He wants
Too slow.
You want to do that next turn? Okay, write that down. Okay, so he's got that coming next. Okay, what are you doing? And like, yeah, it's
bro. It's like the DM just puts an axe and a sword on the table and goes, "Go at it. Whoever lives wins." Like it's like that. You're like, "Whoa, okay."
Yeah.
The hardcore approach.
But with the whole becoming a god and becoming like this godlike being with all this power and wearing the best armor and stuff, it'll let you do that.
Yeah,
but it also
literally.
It also does a really good job of like, even the difficulty settings. I think there's like 4, right? There's
adventure, story, tactical is the hardest. I think tactical is the hardest.
Story, explorer, classic, and tactical.
Yeah.
And between those 4, it does a really good job of like, you can become as powerful as you want, but it doesn't mean it's going to break the game.
No.
So
because things will be hard.
Yeah. But I don't mind it
unless you have Death Cloud barrels. Then they're not.
I don't mind it because it's not the line of people turn base. It's like when you enter combat, this little like message comes up on the screen. It says fight, but it doesn't take you to a separate screen with your character. You're right
where you were,
and you start the battle.
They've turned it into an arena.
You have a certain amount of points that action points that let you do what you want to do that turn, and when you're out of points, your turn's over. Or if you just want to hold down B and because you're like, I'm done, then you're done.
Yeah.
And that's fun because you got to think about like, okay, where am I going to position this character? If you've got like a ranged archer, it's like, okay, I definitely want to get him some high ground so he gets that damage bonus. You got to watch shit on the ground, like if there's oil or water. Oh, that dude's standing in water. Maybe I don't want to cast lightning over there because my dude's close by too, and he'll get fucking electrified. Yeah,
he'll get shocked and stuck.
And boy, were you not kidding when you texted me and told me like, dude, okay, so like in Divinity's great. I mean, like you're always gonna be on fire. Like the entire map is always on fire, always.
Yeah, I think I told you like be prepared to be on fire constantly because that's just like the game. Like, that's it.
The fire is a little excessive, but
it helps a lot if you. I fucking hate doing it, but if you go through the game as an enchanter, fire is like it's not even real. You just put the rain circle like right in front of yourself and then behind yourself, and you just move in that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a plethora of different. So, how many different varieties of magic? There was aerothergy, pyromancy, geomancy. So that's aeromancy. Aeromancy's lightning. It's not.
Aerothergy is lightning.
People hear that and they kind of think it might be wind, but it's like it's more lightning.
It's more lightning. Yeah. Even though they say aerotherge, there are some wind spells, but they're mostly like buffs.
And then pyromancy is clearly fire magic. Geomancy is earth magic, and then there's hydrosophist, which is water, ice, and healing. So so there's a good
mostly water and ice though. They only have like 2 or 3 heals.
Yeah, I'm noticing like there's not really a good build for a healer in this game. Like
there really isn't a healer in that sense.
Yeah,
the heals are dots.
I'm finding
all of them pretty much.
I'm finding that like in order to heal my characters in combat, I'm mostly having to use potions and like other just spells to keep them from.
You do get chain heal. There's a chain heal ability later. That's the only one I ever needed to get pretty deep.
Yeah,
was chain heal, and but that one even then brings you back to the D&D shit where it's like it's chain heal, but it's not World of Warcraft. It's not gonna. It doesn't have a 40-yard range, and it's not gonna hit 10 targets. It has a 10-yard range, and you guys got to be near each other.
Yeah.
So like, it's got that drawback. It's got that D&D sort of grounding moment of like, okay, this is a really powerful spell, but I can totally waste it by using it on 2 people, right? So
same thing with like and also, so you don't really have a healer in your party, you build it. It's more of a support.
Yeah, support is the best word for it. It's a support game. They have a buffing. Buffing is bigger than healing in this game. You really want to just mitigate before things happen.
Like the first thing I like to do is the sorceress lady that has a demon inside of her, that character.
Yeah.
So I made Lose or whatever her name is, Lose. Yeah. I made her into the support character, and she basically we get into combat. She's immediately starts blessing people. She casts Dome of Protection. So it's more like, and all these stuff is like it ups your shields. You have magical. Let's talk about that for a second. So you have before you can hit like an enemy's health, like their actual health, you have to whittle down either their physical shield or their magical shield. Physical shield is basically like their armor.
Yeah,
and
that can often be worse than magic shields.
Because and here's another thing too. So if
they bypass each other too, by the way. So magic bypasses armor, armor bypasses, or physical doesn't affect magic shields.
No.
And then spells don't affect armor.
Yeah, so it's like if I'm playing my dude he's kind of a battle mage, not in the sense of like the class of the game. I got a two-handed sword or a two-handed axe I've used a couple times. If I go up to an enemy and I bash him with my sword, I'm going to whittle away a little bit of his physical armor. But then if my next character's turn is my sorceress lady, most of her attacks that I have for her are magic based. So attacking that same dude with one of her spells, like I already started whittling down his physical armor with my sword. She's not going to continue that because she's going to hit him with magic and it's going to affect his magic armor. So you got to plan that out too. It's like, okay, if I'm going to go at this enemy and I'm going to kind of start to whittle down their physical armor, you almost kind of got to commit to that. Because otherwise you're wasting turns trying to whittle down both.
There's a lot of pre-planning and commitment that goes into sending in your troops.
Yeah.
There's a really specific dungeon I think of where you had to go through all these invisible pathways. Like when you get there, you don't exactly know where to go. It seems like it's a dead end. And then if you just walk into the chasm, there's a bridge and you can't see it. So once you cross that, there's all these enemies you got to fight, but you really only have to fight one of them. And so that whole dungeon is you finding the one to whittle down the health up, and then it'll destroy all the mirror images that they make.
Oh, okay.
That was rough. Because like if you played on tactical, the first time I got there, that was so hard.
I will probably never touch tactical. I don't like playing games story-wise, because then I'm kind of like, why am I playing a game and not just reading a book? You know what I mean? But I've been playing on Explorer, and that's pretty much where I live. You know what I mean?
Explorer's good. That's not easy. And tactical isn't, I wouldn't say it's harder than Explorer. It's just that they punish that thing we're talking about. They punish that a lot more. Like if you send a guy in and then switch, that's a lost battle.
Also, I think it's in Classic. It's definitely in Tactical. I'm not sure if it's in Classic. Friendly Fire is on.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta
using fire is like out. I don't have my tactical build didn't have a geomancer in it at all. It was 2 people with rain. 2 people with rain, bro. Because fire will fuck your troops up.
Yeah.
I had people just putting out fire like half the fight. If they were geomancers, I was like, they have to die. Fuck those guys.
Yep.
Well, if you play on harder difficulties for anybody.
All right.
So like if you want to play on harder difficulties, if anybody's interested in playing this on the harder difficulties, there are some strategies that you can take into account. Like this is D&D. So if you want to be really creative with it, there's this YouTuber, I don't know his name, and I don't want to like rip his idea. This was his idea. So if you like know who it is, cool, put it in the comments. But it's he made a box, he got a box and he put a bunch of weight in this box, made the box weigh like 3,000 pounds. And apparently on the mechanics of the game, 1 pound is 1 damage. So his box does like 3,000 plus damage when he just drops it on someone's head.
Oh, like levitate, does the levitation thing. Yeah.
And so he maxed out his telekinesis ability. He had it like, I don't remember. It was really high. And he could move things like 200 yards, right? So he's on like the other side of a room and he could move this 3,600 pound box all the way across the room and drop it on the boss's head and insta-kill him. So that's a super good build. You can totally do that. And if you wanted to play tactical and not do a cheese build like that, you can pick an undead as your base character because there are a shitload, and I mean a shitload of poison vials in that game. Like why the fuck are there so many poison vials in this game kind of amount. And
Yeah.
undead can use those as healing potions. So you have like 6 times the healing potions that everybody else has. And also, and this is true, Andy, you've played this a little bit. There are just poisons like on the ground,
Yeah.
just like there on the ground. So if you're an undead and you're like half health, just fucking walk through it. That's a heal.
Yeah.
That's why it's so good to play undead on the harder difficulties.
I got one of my buddies at work to get this game, and he chose to play an undead, and he was giving me so much shit the other day because I was like, "Yo, I'm stuck at this game because they're like, I need to open the door to this tomb, but it's like I don't
Pick
have the
lock with your
key.
finger.
Yeah, I don't have the key, and I don't know where the. Oh no, I remember what it was. It was I needed a key to open this door. And this is how fucked this game can be. Like, but I love it. I love the game.
Yeah, it's so
But
great.
so I go into this house because I was told by this dude to go investigate.
Right.
I go into this house, nothing's there. There's this dwarf chick sitting on a box on top of this trapdoor in the floor. And I tell her to move, and she gives me a bunch of shit about it, so I kill her. And I loot, and
Of course.
I kill her, and I loot her. She doesn't have a bunch of shit on her. She has some gold and like a velvet pouch and whatnot. And I take all that shit, then I go down into the fucking dungeon under the trapdoor, and there's another door down there that requires this special key. And I'm like, where's this fucking key? The game doesn't give you any inclination whatsoever where this thing is. So I'm just searching. Finally, I get so fed up with looking for it. I'm like, I'm gonna do a different quest. But before I do a different quest, I'm gonna go sell some shit to a vendor and like clearing out my inventory. I go do that. I start a different quest. Later on, I get online. I'm like, where was that fucking key? Fucking, I'm gonna look it up. Where was it, Zach?
It was in the velvet pouch,
It was in the velvet pouch that I fucking sold to the vendor, and it's gone now. Yep. And you just can't do that quest now. Like, nope. It's done. Like, that's the game. You cannot complete that quest. Like, that's the fucking game. Oh my god.
You might be able to buy the velvet pouch back, but that's honestly not a guarantee. They're restock.
Vendors' inventories restock every hour, so it's like this shit's gone. It's gone.
Yep.
Dude,
that's the worst part. I mean, you can make a lot of money with that restock in an hour thing, but also it can really fuck you when
like that.
I did that shit. Yeah. I sold some shit for a side quest. It was like, I don't even remember what it was because I was just selling shit. You can absolutely break that game by doing this. I don't remember what this was, but it's in the second area after you beat the first, like fully beat the first island, got your collar off, got the collar off everybody, done the ship section, and are now in the next area. When you go up the hill, there's this place where people are being hung. I forget what it's called. It's a gallows. There's a gallows. If you go past that gallows, there's just a shitload of enemies up there, and everything they drop sells for like 100 gold. I was like, what is happening? I had like a guy, he dropped like a ruby encrusted cup. I was like, what is this? And when I sold it, it was like 500 gold. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go back there a lot. Like, if you just do that, just farm those high level enemies there, you can make a ridiculous, you can buy out the stock of everybody.
I'm not running into a big problem with money. This game does have a crafting system, and you told me once though, you were like, peasants craft, kings buy shit.
Yes.
So I was like, okay. And I haven't really gotten into the crafting system. I don't really care. But just on the subject of like loot and loot dropping, like what's your opinion on that in this game? Like,
it's they nailed it. I think
it's definitely not a Diablo. Like, it's not all about the loot, but like
I think they nailed it with the moments that they like with bosses and stuff like that. But with overworld loot, I think that they were a little bit short on like finding cool stuff just like on the ground. But I don't think that was the intent. I think you do find cool stuff, but it's in a different vein. Like it's a quest item or it's like a person. I found a skull once and the skull talks to you and like you had to find his body. So like there's things like that laying around, but you're only going to get like dope gear from bosses or from literally enemies wearing it, like Oblivion, where you loot them like you want the guard's armor. It's sort of like that. Like if you see them, there's a chance they might have. Definitely they'll have the weapon they're using. Yeah. So if they have a weapon, they'll definitely have that. Stuff like that. You can get stuff like that.
My only complaint with the loot and like the dropping of it is I'm not finding a whole lot of stuff that I want my main character to use.
That is a problem I had too. I found a lot of like magic gear
or like weapons and armor that would be better for my companions in my party to use and wear. It reminds me a lot of like Dragon Age, where it's like I would pick it seemed to me, and I don't know if this is actually part of the game or if it's just my impression of it, but like with Borderlands, if I played like the assault character,
Yeah.
It's like I would find everything other than like a badass assault
Yeah.
rifle. Like, you
No,
know what I
you're
mean?
right.
Yeah.
I would find Siren. I remember in 2 you had these like ability buffs that would give you like +2 to a point in your tree.
Yeah.
And I would get like 100 Siren buffs. And I was like, why do these even drop for my Gunzerker? Like, what does
Yeah.
that even make sense? Why
Yeah.
would they even drop?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do
So
with them?
that's a little annoying. I'm pretty sure every single main weapon that my character has used, other than one time this two-handed axe dropped, and I was like, well, that's awesome, so I'm going to use that. But
Oh, nice.
every other main weapon that I've had my character use has been purchased. It has not come from a
Yeah.
drop. So I mean, it is what it is. But yeah,
My Red Prince was sort of the same. He was my two-hander
yeah,
dude. I felt like I never found weapons for him. He would fall behind everybody else because like I would have I would have like a rogue, I would have a caster and like a support character, and I would get all their gear in like 5 minutes.
yeah,
You know, like one boss would drop like a robe, a staff, and like a wand, and I'm like, there you guys go.
yeah,
Nothing for you, Red Prince. Sorry that you're a melee character in this game.
yeah. Uh, the game does have fast travel, so that's good. Helps getting around. What else? Let's talk about class and
I
class
think, yeah, I was
customization.
gonna say we need to talk about the fact that this is bringing back the Oblivion system of making your own class. Like you can
You
play the
start
base
out with a
classes and
base,
they're
so to
fine.
speak, but like,
Yeah, but it's you can change everything about it.
yeah, like,
So if you have like if you're one of the characters or people that likes like builds,
yeah.
they have a bunch of them,
Oh
like
yeah,
a bunch. And if you just want to like pick something and go, they got you set up. If you want to do that telekinesis build, like I said, you can do that. And then you get into the nitty gritty where it's like, okay, I can make a spellcaster who uses 2 daggers, or I can make a spellcaster that uses 1 dagger and teleports around the map using the rogue spells.
yeah.
Or you can make a warrior who uses necromancy to heal himself by
You can make
killing
an
people, like a
arcane archer.
berserker. Yeah, you can make an arcane archer. You can make a fucking you can make a dedicated healer if you wanted to, but you would be bored to tears because you have 4 spells.
Yeah,
There's like tons of stuff
yeah.
you can do.
There's no limits. The
Invincible
game,
tank, like yeah,
to anyone like you were, I was talking to you, I think through like Discord or something when we made my character.
yeah,
And if you had not been there talking to me about it, like you open it up to the character customization screen and it gives you, so first of all, you can play as one of the like set characters from the game where your name and your backstory is built into the game already. And then you can
yeah,
also create a custom elf, custom dwarf, custom human, custom undead. But then on top of that, it kind of prompts you to go through and pick a class like battle
yeah.
mage, knight, enchanter, and I think
Inquisitor.
inquisitor. But what I think people won't realize, at least definitely not on their first time playing this game, is yeah, it says that and it comes with those abilities, but you can immediately go ahead and like
Yeah.
you could go okay enchanter, and then within the enchanter build, the set build at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, you could just go in there and change the fuck out of everything, and it's like,
Yep.
so now you're an enchanter, but you're not, the way the game
Yeah.
set it up.
Now
Yeah,
you're whatever you want.
yeah. So
It's a great system.
from the get go, you can play however you want. As you level up, you gain points that you can put into so different types of magic and combat, like one-handed weaponry, two-handed weaponry. There's not really a sword and shield build. It's just
One
one-handed.
handed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can put a point, or you could choose to put point into aerothergy, pyromancy, and then there's your traditional stat builds like constitution, and that you put
Yeah.
points in separate. It's a separate list of points, but you put points into those, and then you have your more like story perky kind of things that you can select.
Persuade,
Persuade,
lockpick, telekinesis,
parry,
parry.
what else is there? The one that I think is awesome is, I can't remember the name of it, but it's the one where like if you revive a character, bring them back to life, they immediately resurrect with full health.
Oh, like the leadership one or something.
Yeah, it's
Forget what it's called.
so there's like, it's not a tree, it's not a skill tree, it's a
Mm-mm.
list of stuff, and there's 3 separate lists. You got your basic attributes: health, vitality, constitution, strength. Then you have your second one, which is more combat related stuff: warfare, one-handed, two-handed, magic, different types of magic. And then you have the third list, which is all those little like
Those are
perks.
so cool.
It's so deep. The customization
some tips
is deep
for
as
early
fuck.
on, because what he's saying is totally true. It's a big ass list of shit.
Yeah.
Just so like when you make a character, you don't have to go through and be like, what's good? They're all good. I'll give you 3 that are really good if you just don't want to like go crazy and pick, go read everyone in the list. There's one that for melee characters that makes it so that when enemies walk away from you, you'll hit them.
Oh yeah,
That happens
opportunist.
all the time. Opportunist.
That's from
that
D&D
happens
too.
all the time.
Yeah.
That is such a good ability.
Attack of opportunity.
The other one, attack of opportunities, are fucking amazing, and you need them if you're melee. You need it because you'll do it so often.
Yeah.
The other one is
one for sure.
For magic casters, where you stand in the element that you're casting and increases the damage done up by that element. That is so good for the people that can throw rock skin on
fire. Yeah.
Yeah. So you go pyromancer and geomancer, and you get that ability that coats you in rocks, and it makes you immune to being burned.
Yeah.
But when you stand in fire, it still counts. So you put that on, stand in fire, throw fireball, and you will one-shot everything.
Yeah.
That's a great move.
It is.
You can do that with the bow dude too. I forget what he's called, but there's a bow guy that uses some magic. Wayfarer.
Huntsman is, I think, the one. It's either Huntsman or... Yeah, Huntsman is the one that gives you, if you're ranged, you get the damage bonus for having high ground. That's a necessary
being
if you're going to be
positioned on stairs.
Yeah,
that'll really increase your damage.
And that's in almost every battle. There's high ground to be found in almost every battle. I think maybe one I fought, and I was fighting a boss, and he was in just one room, a square rectangular room. That was probably the only time that like high ground wasn't a factor into combat, but it almost always is. There's always a place you can put your character up to get high ground. There might be an enemy up there already, so you got to get up there and take him out first. And another thing to note for people is, if you're doing a range build, if you're not level with the enemy you're attacking, at least level or higher than them, you're going to take a damage penalty. It's going to be like minus 30% damage for firing from low ground. Yeah. So that's, dude.
Pretty much just cast spells from low ground then only shoot from high ground.
The amount of this complexity and like depth that this game has to it is insane. Like, they knocked it out of the park. Like,
yeah. They did the DA Origins backstab mechanic for rogues. Yeah. You're standing behind the target, your attack is just different, and it just does a bullshit amount of damage. Rogues, by the way, every party has to have a variant of a rogue. My personal preference is the witch. Just make a witch, have a witch with you, because they're basically still a rogue. They just you can give them 2 daggers if you want. I have 1 dagger and like a little offhand thing, and they have magic. But the reason I picked them is, think about that backstab mechanic. It's like 3 times damage or 5 times damage, but you can teleport around the room.
Yeah.
Just, you're here, now you're there, and then you're there. So you can backstab like 3
Teleport
targets.
In general is just another really good one. Like, because there's going to be parts of this game where you need to get across bridges, or like you're in a cave and there's a big chasm that's gapping you from where you need to go. And there's one that temporarily gives your character wings, so he can kind of fly over, leap over. And then there's another ability that's just teleportation. And like
from the metamorphosis tree, that is... metamorphs are really fun to play. They're really difficult, but they have tons of utility. Flying over things, avoiding traps is a really good use for that.
And then on the subject of magic, I just thought of this, because like we've talked about how, like, if you want to be good at if you want to do pyromancy, you put points in pyromancy. If you want to do geomancy, you put points in geomancy. I think it's worth noting that putting points into those things is not what gets you the spells.
Yeah,
it makes
you
better.
Have to buy the spells.
Putting points into those things makes you better. If you want to learn the spells, you have to go buy the spell book, the skill book, and have your character read it, use it, and then they know how to use that spell. So if anyone's thinking like, oh, I put points into Aerothergy, I'm going to get more lightning spells, that's not how it works.
No.
You gotta go find a vendor
to make you feel better about the weight. There's the first area of the game is this island, and it's a big island, and there's a lot to do. But don't be daunted by the fact that there aren't a ton of spells, because when you're done, the very first town after that has a guy that sells books.
Yeah,
and he sells tomes for everything.
Yeah,
like he has all the stuff from the island, first of all, if you missed anything,
plus more,
and then he has tons of extra shit. Yeah.
There's actually there's 2 vendors in that first main town that sell skill books. And also
the lady, that's right.
It's the same thing right there. It's the same thing for not just spells, but also melee abilities and special archery attacks. You like, if you want to get Like I think some weapons come, like if you have the weapon equipped, it grants you that skill.
Yeah.
And then
or
other
items.
ones, yeah. And then the other one is you have to read the skill book. But like even to do like I'm not sure if this is an actual ability, but like a cleave ability that inflicts bleed damage, you have to find that skill book and buy and learn that skill. And you got to be careful to make sure that you are because you can take control of all the other characters in your party and use them as your own. You don't have to let the computer run them. And so you got to make sure that you have the right character you want read the right skill book so you don't accidentally give it to the wrong character. Yeah.
Yeah. And then source points. There's the whole source thing. That's a big mechanic. Pretty much all of your best spells require source.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a thing that you get later on in the game that lets you activate it to see like specters nearby that are made of source. And then I don't remember exactly what you do. You either like run through them or fight them, and you get source from them.
Yeah.
So there's add-ons that are part of the game now. They come with the game. In the add-on section is a thing that lets you constantly see those source things. Just flick that bitch on and play the game. Don't let anybody tell you that's wrong, because the mechanic itself is dumb.
There's
Even
actually
the
a lot of
sort
them.
of acknowledges that it's dumb. Like
there's actually
hard.
There's a lot of them in there. They call them, what do they call them? Not add-ons.
They call them mods, I think.
But they're not like mods in the traditional sense. Like, yeah.
No. They're not really changing the game. It's just the mechanics.
Yeah, and
so like the game will still be the game.
And there's a lot, and this is at the main menu. You can access these mods, or the start menu.
Yeah.
And there's a couple that you just need to throw on right away. Excuse me.
The 2 more AP.
Yeah.
Just for if you just want to have fun. If you're not going for the hardcore like tactical, throw that on, because that's just 2 more.
The bartering one that allows you to share the bartering skill of all.
Yep, just throw it on the guy that has the highest in your party, and just keep beefing his up, and everybody gets it. That's great.
Yeah. Good game. I can't say enough good things about it. I haven't been playing a lot of it recently because like when I'm home, I'm just like, there's other shit I could do that I'm not gonna be able to do when I go out. But I only got one more trip, and then I'm not going out anymore. So, oh well. But anyway,
you're done.
Yeah, I think so. Since we do a lot of it's just us talking about the game, we don't really show any of the game. I think I'm gonna play the gameplay trailer real quick, just to include it in this video so people can get a look at it. Even though I'm sure most people know about the game, but
no, that's a good idea. People who haven't seen it, they might not know exactly what we mean by like standing in fire or why we're on fire all the time. This will show you.
All right, so this is for the PS4, but I mean, it's still pretty good. All right, I'm starting the trailer.
Welcome, adventurer, to an RPG unlike any other. In a world forsaken by the gods, the people need you to become their next divine. Before you venture forth into the huge and sprawling realm of Rivellon, however, you need to decide what role you will play. Become a haughty lizard, perhaps, a flesh-eating elf, or even an undead dwarf. Or take on one of 6 origin stories, each with their own unique history and talents.
I was destined to become the next emperor.
During your journey, these heroes can also be recruited as companions.
Right you are. Lead the way.
Your personality and background will determine your dialogue choices, quests, and challenges as you journey to replace the lost divine. Unfortunately, there can only be one, so the relationships within your party shall be put to the test. But before we get there, we have an astonishing amount of things to do. Befriend animals, grow wings, teleport enemies or friends into burning pits of fire. Sneak, steal, talk to ghosts, and even tear the faces off dead enemies to create new shape-shifting masks. Craft epic equipment or pizza. And use your powers of persuasion to get yourself out of sticky situations.
All right.
And if things don't go your way, you can always fight. Combat is dynamically turn-based, and during your turn, you look for opportunities to use the elements and terrain to your advantage. Exploit your strengths and your enemy's weaknesses. But remember, your foes will try to do the same. Divinity Original Sin II is the only RPG of its class on consoles to deliver split-screen co-op. There's no I in party, so either start your adventure with a friend, or jump into a game and watch the screen part as you work together, or alone, to reach your goal. Often, your character's ambitions are at odds with one another, so compromise or collaborate to reach your objectives. You can play the entire game with a friend in dynamic split screen, or online as a party of 4. And if tensions do run high, take it to the Definitive Edition's new and improved Arena mode, loaded with new maps, characters, and features to slug it out to the death. Arena mode pits players against each other online or in round robin. When conversation fails, use your might to prove to your party you're worthy of the label The Divine. The Definitive Edition comes with a plethora of features and changes, such as new difficulty modes, narrative moments, a new journal to chart your adventure, and new never-before-seen combat situations, just to name a few. Alone or with friends, online or in split screen, no matter how you choose to play, you will experience endless layers of depth and reactivity. Neatly packaged is the visually exciting, often unpredictable, and always dramatic world of Divinity Original Sin II. Definitive Edition.
I love that song.
So yeah, that's a look at the game, a brief look at it. I think the trailer did a pretty good job of just overviewing everything. I don't know. And then also, I think it's important. One last thing to say is that you do not need to play Original Sin 1 to enjoy this. It's the story takes place in a different period of time. It is Divinity Original Sin 2, just in the sense that it's the second game like this in this franchise. But other than that, like, it's not a continuation of the story from the first one, really. So you can jump right into 2, and you'll be just fine.
I didn't play 1, so that should tell you. Me neither.
Yeah.
I played 2. My friends played 1. They seem to like it.
Yeah, I can't imagine I would hate it. But...
I think it's more steely. They did a lot more stealing than I had to do to make money. That's the thing I noticed. I thought I was going to have to steal a lot in 2.
Yeah.
Like never. A couple times.
And let's be honest, 2 is the one that's getting the real acclaim and putting this franchise. 2 is the one that's got Larian Studios' Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah. So 2 is super good.
It is.
It's really good.
All right, man. Well, I think we covered just about anything. You got anything to add? Final verdict on this game or anything like that?
I just think everybody should play it if you like Dungeons and Dragons. If you even have like an itch to like see what Dungeons and Dragons is like, it's on sale on Steam all the time. Yeah. It's like $60, but it'll be like
looking for
20
a
or
damn
30.
Good RPG, fantasy RPG.
If you're looking for a really good RPG, it's a great choice just for that.
Yeah.
If you're weird like me and sometimes you want to play like a mage, there is no better game to play a mage than that game. Yeah. You just do so much shit.
Yep.
So I think it's a great game.
For what they were trying to do with it and what they achieved, 10 out of 10 in my opinion. Yeah, can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah.
All right, man. We're gonna cut it here. It's been fun.
Okay.
Till next time.
All right. See you guys.